What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian Mello with Marty's Buick GMC and Chevrolet, and today I'll finally be talking about the new 2024 Sierra Denali EV. Because honestly, I think it's got a few problems. So let's get into it. Alright, so last week GMC finally took the cover off the highly anticipated 2024 Sierra Denali EV. And I know that most of you who watch my channel aren't the biggest EV fans, which is fine, but there's no denying that a lot of people were waiting to see this truck. Otherwise, I don't think the pre-orders for the Edition 1 would have sold out just as fast as they did. Initial reports actually said that the truck sold out in under 24 hours. But I was refreshing GMC's website after the launch, and it looked to me like reservations were full in less than 30 minutes. In fact, it was probably closer to like 15, 20 from what I saw. And we're talking about a vehicle that has an estimated MSRP of $107,000, which is a price that I think is a problem. Probably not for the reason that you think. So let me quickly explain. 7 months ago, when Chevrolet revealed the Silverado EV RST as its top-of-the-line electric pickup, it touted some pretty solid numbers, especially when you compare them to its internal combustion counterpart. 664 horsepower, 780 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds, 400 miles of range, and up to 10,000 pounds of towing capacity. Regardless of your feelings towards EVs, those are some solid numbers on paper. But Chevy didn't just stop by touting impressive numbers. They also showcased the new midgate feature that we all know, most of us remember at least from the old Chevy Avalanche days. They showed us four-wheel steering, adjustable air suspension, Super Cruise hands-free driving. We got 24-inch wheels, a massive 17-inch driver-focused touch display, a glass roof, and just overall one of the most modern-looking interior designs we've ever seen from GM. Most of you, at least if you've been watching my content for a while, probably know by now that for the most part, I'm pretty openly biased towards the GMC brand over the Chevy side of things. So when I first saw the Silverado EV reveal, I thought to myself, man, if this is what the Silverado is gonna get, all these crazy features, the Denali EV is going to be just insane. After all, the Denali is General Motors' crown jewel when it comes to their pickups, and they've already stated that they want to make sure that the Denali line is differentiated from the rest of its offerings. So like many other people, there I was, Thursday night, sitting at my computer, got the popcorn out. I'm waiting for GMC to knock my socks off with the first ever 2024 Sierra Denali EV. I knew nothing about this thing. Just like you guys, I was watching it for the first time, and then the reveal came. And this is where we get into the problems. Some of you might agree with me, some of you might not, but either way, I'd love to know what you think in the comments below after this video is over. So first things first, I'm going to start out by saying I do think that the 2024 Sierra Denali EV looks pretty cool. If I'm honest, it looks like a concept truck or something you'd find in like a video game or a movie about the future. And although that might not be everyone's cup of tea, for me, that's really not a bad thing. We're certainly moving into the future of automotive design, whether you like it or not, and much of that design revolves around LED lighting and making things even more aerodynamic. I like the LED lighting around the grille. I thought that was a cool touch. I like the LED logo and the day running lights, as well as the accent lighting, the fog lights. The front end of the truck looks great. And let's be honest, everybody loves cool lights, so kudos. The numbers, those looked great too. 755 horsepower, 54 horsepower, 785 pound-feet of torque, which would give it a 90 horsepower advantage over the Silverado EV. I mean, that would make sense. It's the Denali after all, and GM wants to differentiate it from the rest of its trucks, so it would make sense for it to be a more powerful truck. Well, hold on, because Chevy has already gone ahead and updated its power numbers for the Silverado EV RST to match the Denali with 754 and 785 pound-feet of torque, which is just a really strange move there, in my opinion, by GM. Why wouldn't you just leave the Denali with the power advantage? After all, this is supposed to be GMC's top-level crown jewel pickup truck. It shouldn't just align exactly with the Silverado EV RST, in my opinion. It should be the next level, just as GM advertises it to be. By giving the Denali just a bit more power over the Silverado, it would also allow GM to offer it at a much more premium price and easily justify that price over the Silverado. But it turns out that the pricing on the trucks are also pretty much identical, which is where my pricing issue first comes into play. The Silverado EV RST Edition 1 comes in at $105,000, while the Denali comes in at $107,000. So you're paying more, but are you getting more? Personally, I think you might be getting less, which leads to my biggest problem with the Denali. And from my discussion with a few friends, it seems like there may be a 60-40 split on this one in my favor after I kind of said my piece. So let me know in the end if you agree with me or not. The Silverado EV RST's interior layout is better than the Sierra Denali EV. And that's something I never thought I'd say in a million years. First, and this is the minor part of my interior gripe, the Silverado EV gets a 17-inch display and the Denali gets a 16.8-inch display. And before you say, who cares, that's not that big of a difference, sure, I'd agree with you. Not a big deal, really. But the Silverado's display is also horizontal, the way that it should be. I'm not sure why everyone loves the big vertical screen glued to the dashboard look, thanks Tesla, I guess, but it's got to be one of the laziest designs ever. If you've ever driven a vehicle with the big vertical screen, have you ever noticed how often you had to look down to see controls? It was one of the first things, and I know I'm openly biased here, but it was one of the first things I hated when I drove the newer Rams. I'd much rather look over than look down, especially when I'm driving. Look right here how Chevrolet built their 17-inch display into the dashboard of the Silverado EV. If you notice, and this is genius, the only dead space where you don't have screen is right behind the steering wheel. So when you're driving it, it actually gives the illusion of having a screen that spans across this entire section of dash. Basically, the 11-inch digital gauge cluster just looks like it just continues on down the dashboard. But to make things even better, the 17-inch display in the Silverado is also driver-focused, which means it's actually tilted slightly towards the driver, giving you an even more immersive and better viewing experience, like a cockpit in a jet. Think about how GMC, for a second, think about how they differentiated the current Yukon Denali to the Yukon SLT. What'd they do? They took the stuck screen thing, and instead they built it into the dash on the Denali in an effort to make it more seamless, more purposeful, more luxury. When we compare this view right here of the Silverado EV to the Sierra EV, I just think the Silverado does it a lot better. It also looks like Chevy kept the knobs for adjusting the temperature with the climate control system, which I've said in many, many videos. Climate control knobs should just stay out of the touchscreens. It's easy to remember where the knob is, so you can just reach over and turn it without having to look down at the display every time. Think about how you do it in your own vehicle. Next to the volume controls, it's probably the most utilized set of controls inside your vehicle. I sure use that more than I use hands-free voice controls. Oh, and don't forget that for some reason the towing capacity on the Silverado is 10,000 pounds compared to the Denali's 9,500 pounds. Honestly, the Silverado EV RST Edition 1 should have come in at around 90,000 and the Denali should have been at around 105 and it should have offered you more. That's just my opinion. But perhaps I'm just crazy. Maybe I just had expectations that were a little too high when it came to the Denali reveal, or maybe Chevy just stepped their game up and now we have two really high-level premium luxury trucks to choose from and I'm just, overreacting. Maybe. For me, as someone who would have always picked the GMC over the Chevy, it feels really weird to say that I think the Silverado EV RST is the better truck. It's certainly what I'd go with. But let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. And if you made it this far in the video, if you could help me out by just smashing that like button. It really does help me out in a huge way, believe it or not. Subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to share this video with a friend. If you need some OEM parts for your car, truck, SUV, or anything else, martysparts.com for all your GM OEM parts needs. And I will see you all in the very next video. Thanks again for all the support, guys. I really do appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and take care.